The name Muhammad is clearly mentioned in the Bible. From a linguistic perspective, when you translate the Bible, that has to be agreed on.
I could concede that point. Yes, from a lexical...
Okay. Are the three in the Trinity equal?
They are co-equal in majesty and power.
But when Jesus says the Father is greater than I.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how to answer that.
Scans of manuscripts from the first generation, from the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, all the way to our generation. Letter by letter, word by word, they're exactly the same. Unlike the Bible, which we don't have any manuscripts from the time of Jesus, even the smaller scrap would be 70 to 80, 90 AD. The lineage of Jesus in Matthew and Luke, two different lineages which contradict each other. Those two cannot both be. So if he's a prophet of God and a messenger of God and a servant of God, then he's not God. Unless you believe in multiple gods.
There is not a communication between them in the sense that the human nature can't be fully omniscient.
Jesus has got two personalities, you're saying?
He was one person, the God-man. So he's completely unioned God-man.
Unfortunately, he was voted out by the majority.
Oh, that was great talking to you. I was having fun. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Your brother Uthman ibn Farooq here in Louisville, Kentucky, in the South Bible Belt. And we are at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, the biggest Baptist Bible university in America. And we're challenging all of the professors, Bible scholars, to a debate. 20 of them have accepted. These are all students and professors from this Bible university. We're going to go debate them at their campus. Let's go do this. 20 versus 1. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Amin Hamloushi, your host today, and we have 20 Christians and one Sheikh Uthman ibn Farooq here to debate on one topic, Islam and Christianity. For each prompt Sheikh Uthman gives today, we will have 15 minutes on the clock shared between all of our contestants, and they will be able to come up here in this chair and debate him. Whenever the time goes off, the first one to come will be the first one who will be able to discuss with him, and each of them have a flag to vote out any person who they believe needs to be switched out for someone else. Whenever the majority comes, we'll send them back, and someone new will come up and discuss until the time runs out.
I believe the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is clearly mentioned in the Bible.
All right, if you would like to debate him on this topic, please go ahead and take a seat. No, you go sit down.
So the prompt is that Muhammad is clearly stated in the Bible.
Yes.
Awesome. Could you show me some text?
Sure. So this is in the Songs of Solomon. Just for preference, to understand, Songs of Solomon is, according to the Christian Orthodox, the New Orthodox Annotated Bible, this is a prophetic speech, meaning it's not just a love song, and that's why it's one of the most used prayers in Jewish literature. It is a mystical symbolism, is involved in highly figurative language. It is inclusive in the Old Testament to be explained from the prophetic figure of the Lord. So prophetically, it's supposed to be mentioning somebody who is coming as a prophetic figure. The New Annotated Bible also, from Oxford, mentions that this is figurative speech, meaning it's supposed to tell us not just about a love relationship as the words would be, but the allegory is to show the interpretation over the centuries of the Common Era, and this is what was understood by the critical biblical scholars until the 19th century, that this is to show the relationship between God and who he would send to Israel and the people to guide them. So here, in 5:16, the word Muhammad is actually very explicitly written. I brought a printout of the actual, the printout from the lexicon itself. So this is a masculine noun. If you look at the Hebrew English lexicon, and this has the numbers from Strong in it as well, if we were to find the root, and I've highlighted it for you, you see it actually has the word Hamida in Arabic. So it shows that that word Muhammad, and it's mentioned as Muhammadim, the im usually implies plural, but it's also used for majesty. For example, Elohim, Elohim, right? So even in Arabic, for example, when we say Salam Alaikum, Alaikum is for plural, but we do it out of respect. So the name Muhammad is explicitly mentioned in even a lexicon that was written all by Christians. No, I'm not quoting any Muslim sources here, says that this word here is the same as Hamida, which is where Muhammad comes from. In the next page, Mahmad, because there is no deep ha in the Hebrew language, is mentioned here as well as a noun. So when you have a noun, it's not correct to translate nouns, meaning the word David, for example, the name David, is also the clearly lovely and the most purely beloved. but we don't translate it, right? We in the Bible, we don't say the most beloved, right? We say David. So when the name Muhammad was clearly mentioned, I don't think it was correct for it to be translated as the meaning of the most lovely. Rather, it should have been kept as it is in the name. That is one incident of the mention of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the Bible. The second that I can also show is in Isaiah, and this is something that a lot of people have discussed. But before I get to that, I just want to show you something historic, and I like books, so I brought a manuscript. So this is an actual scan of a handwritten manuscript. So it's not just even a book from a library or bookstore. It's from an actual museum. They scanned it. There's a book called Shifa by Qadi Iyad, one of the great Islamic scholars. And there's a point I'm bringing here, is he mentions three famous personalities that became Muslim at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. One of them is Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As. I've highlighted it for you in case you don't know Arabic, but that's okay. And the other is Abdullah ibn Salam and Ka'b ibn Akhbar. That these two, for example, were Jewish scholars. And they, when they read the Bible in the Old Testament, in these scriptures, knew that a prophet was coming. And when they saw the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in person, quoting this actual verse, they accepted Islam. They became Muslim because they believed that the Prophet Muhammad was clearly mentioned in the Bible. So here, when we look at the reference here in Isaiah, he says, I will put my spirit upon him, my beloved servant. So who is being discussed? A lot of people might say this is a reference to Jesus coming in the future, or somebody might say to John the Baptist. But when we look at the references here, it says here that he will be a light to the Gentiles, right? And as you are well versed, you know that in Matthew 15:24, Jesus mentioned that he was sent to the lost sheep of Israel. In fact, if you keep going in the same verses, you'll find that the reference to the villages of Kedar and the inhabitants of Salah sing, let them shout from the tops of mountains. So where's Kedar? I mean, if we look at it as a reference to Jesus, then Kedar should be somewhere either in Jerusalem or Palestine. But according to, and again, this is the Smith's Bible Dictionary, so I'm not using any Muslim sources here. Kedar is a name that was given to the second son of Ishmael, from whom the Arabs came, from the tribe of Arabs. And they are the ones that gathered in Mecca. So the tribe seems to have been of the conspicuous of all of the Ishmaelite Arabs that came together, and they were all collectively called Kedar. So Kedar is a reference to Arabs in Mecca. And Sal'a, which there's a lot of discussion on where it is, but I've actually been to a place where you can see it, and I brought a printout for you. You can Google map it if you like. Sal'a is a mountain in Medina. Interestingly, I've actually physically been there, and the people who were of the Jewish faith that used to live there have had a graveyard there and a place of worship because they found it to be biblical. So till today, you can go and you can visit it, and you will find that graveyard there. So when you see these references of the villages of Kedar inhabitants, let them sing, and the people of Sil'a to sit on top of the mountains of Sil'a, I think it's a pretty clear reference. Even if you go to the Jewish encyclopedia regarding Kedar, they mention Kedar as being the ancestor of the Arabs from whose lineage Muhammad was brought through. And this is from Jewish encyclopedia. I just didn't, they're online sources, so I printed them. Bible Gateway also, and this is a Christian source, mentions that in the view of many of the biblical references, and this is the northern Arabian tribes of Kedar, who are currently called Arab, the genealogy of Muhammad in Islamic traces back from the descendants of Abraham from Ishmael through Kedar. So putting these together, I mean a clearly mentioned name, and then on top of that, many other references that show the location. Now, I'll do one more thing before I let you speak on this, which is if we continue to verse number 19, it says, who is blind but my servant, or deaf but my messenger whom I sent? Who is blind as he who was perfect? And again, blind to the evils of the world. But what's interesting is I actually looked this up in the Hebrew English lexicon, and this is Brown Driver Briggs. And the word here for perfect, which is referencing the messenger to come, is mushallam. Mushallam, according to the lexicon here, has the same essence from the Arabic word of aslama, which is the word Muslim. You see, right? Yeah. So the word Muhammad is there,